during that, during that whole timer thing, I could do this and I can see you, but you can't see me.
That's cool. Plus, I noticed you have me on mute.
No, it automatically mutes us both. When you put that countdown thing, it automatically mutes us both.
That's cool. Such cool things. Such cool things.
The StreamYard now has a thing where you can video. I haven't tried it yet, where you can video edit to take that off.
I like that though. I think that's kind of cool because then it kind of gives people an idea of when you're going to start. You're not just sitting there going, "Okay, I'm going to start. I'm going to start."
Yeah, I know. It's like our starting ranges are getting worse and worse. So
we're here for you to learn from our mistakes.
Yeah. Come here and watch us screw up one more time.
Don't you love this weather? Are you guys getting cold over there?
So yesterday morning it was 47 degrees and I had to put a heavy coat on because Timmy was cold.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
It was just under 60 here today, and I'm listening. I think my heater might be on.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with these apartments that we're in is that they have air conditioning, heating, but they do it kind of funky because the air conditioning is that cooling conditioner where you use the water. It's
okay, yeah. So it's a cooler probably run on your roofs. Yeah.
So they turn it off certain times of the year and then they turn it on so that that's not wasted water and so forth. But they turn the heater off during certain times of the year and then they turn it on. So now they're just going through this process this next week of turning everybody's heater on. In the meantime, though, it's been very chilly. So I've had a space heater going because it's like
no. This is the time of year that Gwen loves, and we'd run the house without a heater. Right. I have, because everything's controlled in the house and in my condo it was too. I have a system, and that's why I got those Nest thermostats. Is I set it with a heat cool mode. If it goes below 70, it kicks the heat on and brings it up to 70 degrees. If it goes above, I think it's like 78, it kicks the AC on and brings it back down to 78. So I set my things higher. All right. But as the temperature when I get to the point where the temperature feels great, no matter what, then I really stretch it and I make it 65 before the heat comes on and 80 before the AC goes on. So it's like, and then I go through it's now almost through the past Thanksgiving that my system will hardly ever come on.
Because the way you've got it set up. I don't know. And they say that we're going to have a pretty harsh winter this winter. Even in Texas and parts of New Mexico and all down the lower part of the state, all the way up to, of course, the East Coast.
Yeah.
We shall see. I mean, up in the East Coast, they're already getting snow.
I know. I'm gonna have, because of that. One of the things we talked about here at the house is we're getting a generator that we could plug in. Certain things.
It's a good idea because you never know.
Yeah. I'd love to get one of the big generators, but that's a couple grand to getting that system hooked up.
Here's an interesting thing that I found out, and I know you're in Texas and we're not far. We're only like 45 minutes away because we're near El Paso. But I did not realize that anywhere that there is military, they're always on a separate grid than the rest of the country or the rest of the state. And so El Paso's on a separate grid, but we, as in Las Cruces, because we're such a small town, we're grouped into that grid. So we're part of their grid. And their grid, to my understanding, never goes down because it's an army base is out there and so on and so forth. So, and they have to be up and running. So I thought that was I never even knew that. And when I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh, because the rest of Texas is on one grid. El Paso, which is a part of Texas, on another grid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Because they were never affected when I think it was last year. Was it last year you guys had
2 years? 2 years ago, we had outages that would be for days. And and that's why I said I'm going to get a generator that will do the minimals. That'll run a minimal of stuff. So
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that, and you were talking about too that you're moving in and you're organized, and you're having a hard time because you're not organized.
I'm not organized. I am so unorganized. It frustrates the shit out of me.
I hear you. I mean, we're getting boxes packed up and it's driving me crazy. It's all in this room. So it's all these boxes are starting to pile up. Here we go. Here we go. So
yeah. So I mean, and you know, it's when I got my condo, the last condo, because we spent I was like 3 months rebuilding it. I engineered how my office was going to be set up and how it was going to be done, you know, over that 2 month period of time. So when I actually got in there, then it was okay. Let me perfect it. Let me make it better. Let me, you know, what I mean, here I couldn't figure it out because I couldn't see the space until I moved in. So I'm still in that figure it out, let alone refine it. You know.
Well, and you said too that before you guys moved into your condo, you had done everything before you moved in, right?
Yeah.
So you already had it set up, you're ready to go, you just moved everything in.
Yeah. Well, in this case here, we're done doing work now inside the house. We, you know, there's like, you know, pictures got to be hung, things like that'll be done over time. But all the construction work inside the house is done for now. It'll be another year before we'll start renovating one room at a time, and we'll probably like gut a bathroom and redo it. Gut another bath. I mean, one room at a time. We'll gut it, redo it. So, like this room, when I redo this room here, when we replace the windows, that'll be one thing. But I have 2 closet doors here going to one closet, and in this room here, I'm going to redo that opening to be one big door.
Big closet, yeah.
Well, it's one closet as it is, but I'm going to make it one big door, and I'm going to try to make it with sliding to do less of this.
Yeah.
And do sliding in or a curtain across it because of the fact that I just the room is too small to have swinging doors. These big ass swinging doors into it.
That's like when we originally were looking at the new house and trying to decide everything and doors and so on and so forth, and they call them water closets where they just have the toilet.
Yeah.
And invariably they have that door that comes out like this to the toilet. Then you have to close it to get in to go. And I mean, it's like in a really bad spot. They never put it this way. They always put it the other way. So the first thing we said is we're putting a pocket door there. That's not gonna.
Well, pocket door. If I got it set up well enough, I could almost do those barn doors, which are becoming very popular right now.
Yeah.
But like the pocket doors is because it can hide into a wall. And if I'm tearing the wall apart anyway, might as well put them in, right?
I'm just saying, yeah.
The only catch to it is dead center in in this room. The bedroom is set up. This is set up as a bedroom with that closet like that, and our spare bedroom is the same way, set up that way. And in both cases, though, there's an outlet in the middle island, but the outlet is going to be moved. When I tear the walls open, I'll move the outlet into the closet because my printer's in the closet. All right. I run, you know what I mean? I don't keep my printer outside the closets. I've always put them in the closets of my offices. So my last one, I redid the wall, and on the back side of the wall, I had access to go in there and add plugs. So
okay. So let me ask you this. You have a printer. Do you really print a lot of stuff nowadays?
Actually, believe it or not, I do.
Really?
I'm so shocked at how much I print. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's not like, you know, I'm printing pages or books. It's forms. For instance, I had to go do my driver's license, and I had to print this new. I'm supposed to be carrying this with me because this is my temporary driver's license, not the license in my pocket.
Oh, yeah.
It's stuff like that.
I mean, I know there's some things that you have to print, but I mean, if you think about it, when we started with computers, the intent was
never to use paper again.
No paper.
Yeah.
And in reality, we ended up with more paper because people were so nervous that what if that computer goes down and I can't find this, or it's too hard for me to see it on this, so I'd rather have. Everybody wanted this paper. Well, I know that we're starting to get less and less paper now, and there's a lot more, but it just depends on where you go. I mean, I know here in New Mexico, at the doctor's offices, they all do paper. And they said the reason for that is because there's also a lot of retired people here. They don't go online. So they were trying to set it up for their clientele so that now it's all paper. But to me, why can't you have both? Have one that's electronic so that you can at least give them a choice.
Well, I mean, I've got certain documents I've got to sign that I've got to pull off, print, sign the document, and then scan it back in because they don't do electronic signatures.
Yeah,
I have certain there's certain real estate deals you have to have a wet signature on.
and I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But I mean, even with all of our documentation that we went through for buying the house,
Yeah.
most of it was online.
Well, yeah, we did the selling of our old condo. We did totally online.
Yeah.
The purchase of this house we did in a title office, but our selling of our other one was done with an online agent, and they had a video call. They had to see you while you were doing it. It's a type deal.
Well, they have to witness it and that type of thing.
That was how they would get the legal advice on witnesses. But like there's documentation because of buying like the apartment complexes. When we buy apartment complexes, there's certain documentation we have to do a wet signature on, and then fax it back. All right, too, because it's got to go through certain agencies. All right, and it's
who even has a fax machine nowadays?
Well, we scan it and then we fax it with email.
I know, but I mean, it's just like when somebody asks for a fax machine, it's like, dude.
I know we think that's old fashioned, but there are still a lot of documents that have to legally, it's fax or in person. And I did not know that. I don't know why there's still the encryption on it or what it is.
I don't know.
I don't know. But when I did, I worked for, after I sold my car wash company, I worked for a couple months for a debt settlement company, and all of their stuff all the paperwork we did had to be faxed in.
Fax. Yeah.
All right. But each one of us, the company paid, each one of us had an e-fax line. And it was like an e-fax.
Oh, I remember.
And it was all imported into our emails.
Yeah.
But it was done with a fax machine because we had to get a wet signature from the clients.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, to me, it seemed like we negated the whole purpose of having computers and having everything online because everybody wanted everything printed.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're getting away from that more now, but I don't know. I just thought it was interesting how some people are still I call it the Stone Ages because there's fax machine and on paper.
You should see this weird character that just walked by my camera.
That just walked by your camera?
By my camera in the back. Some guy named Caruso. I don't know. He's a shady character.
A Caruso. Oh no.
One of them. Yeah.
Don't let him in. Don't let him in. Lock your doors. Lock up your children. Lock your doors.
Hey, do you remember a time, all right, when you were hanging out with the Carusos?
Yeah, not so much anymore.
Yeah. Now that they're hanging out with me.
Yeah. Carusos.
See, you could have came to Texas and we could have all hung out together.
Well, here's the funny thing is all the group of girlfriends that I hung out with that were from combination of eWomen and Craig's events and so forth have all, for the most part, have scattered. You've got Sarah, she's in Tennessee.
Yep.
Tony's in Texas. Elisa's in Texas.
Yeah.
I'm in New Mexico. I think the only two that we were hanging out with that are still in California is Patty and Sherry.
Yeah.
Everybody else just went woof. It's like cockroaches getting off the boat before it sinks. Woof.
So, but yeah, speaking of like moving to Texas, all right, I had coffee with a gentleman that him and I spoke at an event together. I think the last time we spoke at an event together was 2016.
Wow.
All right, in Palm Springs, California, and he happened to be in Fort Worth visiting a friend, and he said, "I know you're in the Dallas area. Okay, can we meet up and have coffee?" So I drove over to Fort Worth, and I explained to him, it's an hour and a half ride for me to get over there.
That's a good ride.
Yeah, it's a ride, right? And I go over and hung out with him and talked with him, and we just, just good, sharing some coffee and talking. And at the end of it, he said, "You've convinced me." And I wasn't trying to. "You've convinced me. I'm moving to Texas."
Where's he from originally?
San Diego.
Yeah,
And I said, "Let me add this to the list of the people I've gotten to move from California to Texas."
I'm not one of them, but I'm close. I'm not that far.
I'm not done with you yet. I'm not done with you yet.
I'm only 45 minutes away. I won't move to Texas because I visited my dad. He lived in Amarillo. He lived in Dallas. He lived in Houston. Amarillo, Dallas, Houston, and a couple of other areas. And every time we went there, freaking bugs. It was freaking hot. The weather was extreme. I'm like, you can keep it.
Wait a minute. You think you moved to a place that doesn't have extreme? I've been to that town.
Yeah. But I don't think it's as extreme as Texas, though. Personally, I think it gets hotter in Texas than it does in New Mexico, at least where we're at. Although in Roswell, which is one of the areas that gets the hottest, they run between 10 to 20 degrees hotter than the rest of the states in New Mexico.
In Roswell. Okay, I'll tell you this. All right, to go over the mountain to Roswell, all right, Ruidoso. I have, all right, in 12, 15 years of riding out there with motorcycle, I have yet to go over that mountain into Ruidoso and not hit rain.
Yeah.
Every time I get wet. Every time.
Does have rain. Yeah.
There's always a shower sprinkling through there.
And it's interesting because there's more rain and more precipitation in Albuquerque and Santa Fe and Taos than there is the other side of state. And where we're at, since we're closer to El Paso, I mean.
Now, wait a minute. Now, I would never live near Albuquerque. Ever.
No, me.
Ever.
No.
I will visit my friends there, but I will never. I don't care what they were. If they offered me a job making $4 or $5 million a year, I'd still turn it down if I had to live there.
It's a tough town. Very tough.
I would never want to live in that town.
Well, we've got friends from Craig's event that.
I have tons of friends who live there. I do. I have a ton of friends who live there.
I mean, TK lives there. Who else? There's a whole bunch of people that live up there. Merv lives up there. Yeah. I mean,
Cynthia Lay lives there.
I think so too, but yeah.
It's the first place I ever met Cynthia Lay was where I was changing planes in Albuquerque back when I was going to the second event I ever went to at Craig's. Changing planes in Albuquerque and
from Texas.
So
you flew from Texas to Albuquerque.
Yeah.
To change planes and then go to.
That was back. There used to be a law for that was in effect for Love Field in Dallas that you had to touch originally it was you had to touch a state that connected to Texas. You had to get off the plane. That was originally. Then it got to you had to touch down. All right, and then eventually in 2014 it got taken away.
Wow.
But it was called the Wright Amendment. It was named after a senator or congressman named Wright, who, when DFW Airport was put in, they made it as a thing because they didn't want Love Field to compete with DFW Airport. So they restricted them. And then Southwest Airlines built their entire industry with that restriction on them.
Wow.
And so I always float Southwest. I had to always change planes, or I always had to get it. I always had to land somewhere, and it was always Dallas, Albuquerque, change planes, and fly to LA.
Well, and here's the funny thing is when we go out anywhere to LA or out in that area, we have to change planes in. Well, we go in Texas, even though we're getting on the plane in El Paso. If we do that airport. We still have to stop sometimes along the way in Texas and then get to California, or sometimes it's a straight shot. Just depends on what the flight is, or you'll stop in Arizona.
Yeah.
And it's not that far. It's just, I don't understand why they just can't go straight through.
Sometimes now they can. Well, now they can. It's just what their patterns are of, Southwest patterns of flying where the people go, they don't put direct flights in if there's not enough traffic. If there's a lot of traffic going one way, they'll put a direct flight
Yeah,
and
that's true.
bypass it. But if there's, if a majority of the traffic only goes one stop, you know what I mean? They divide it up.
Well, you
We
did
used
hear
to have
about the
direct
story.
flights into Philadelphia, and they've cut back on the direct flights into Philadelphia and what was the other one? And Baltimore, Maryland,
Yeah,
because of the fact that the traffic wasn't going there directly as much.
yeah, it's changed a lot.
Yeah, LAX from Dallas to LAX, that I think they're up to like 6 flights a day, because that still has a lot of traffic going back and forth.
Going back and forth, yeah, because it's short.
Yeah,
It's I don't know. Traveling these days, it's sometimes challenging. I mean, I remember there were flights that you could take straight, no problem. You wouldn't have to even stop. And now they make you do a stop where you're like, what, really?
they're not necessarily making you do a stop. The point is that they've realized that the traffic patterns have changed of how people travel. And
Well, they have to do it just for me. They have to set it up for me.
they have to set, okay, so
they have to set it up for me.
so the airlines, all right, have to lose a couple more $1 million a year just so the flight's comfortable.
Yeah, I don't care how much they lose. I just need to get my flights where I need to go.
Again, they're in business and they're trying to make a profit instead of taking you places.
Well, what is it when people say, not my problem?
Yeah, not my problem. Yeah.
Sorry, not my problem.
Yeah. And wait a minute. And there's probably the same thinking of people who go, well, why do we have to kill cows to eat? Come on, why don't we just go to the grocery store and buy that beef?
Well, and the funny thing is, when it comes to cows, which I did not realize, they cause more pollution than anything else because of the carbon, I won't say, but carbon monoxide or whatever that it gets into the air they cause a lot. They're the biggest percentage that we have in regards to pollution in the air. They're cows. But that's because we eat so much meat. There's a lot of cows.
Wait a minute. So you think this is what I love. If people think that if we stopped eating meat, that problem would go away?
Probably not.
Cows are just going to die off.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. They're still going to be around.
They're still going to be around.
Yeah.
It's just that now they're being bred specifically so that they have enough. But I don't know. I mean,
they're being bred so we have food. All right,
Yeah.
It's like there's a reason we all had farms many centuries ago.
Years ago.
It's because we raised our own meat. All right, when we wanted to eat food, we killed the chickens and ate dinner. That's how the world worked.
Which is why we turned the clock back. Is all had to do with farming, in regards to the crops and so forth. And
that's coming up. Are we still doing that?
Yeah, we are. We're still doing that.
That's in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it is. It's torture. It's fall back, spring forward. Why can't we just stay and not even deal with that? Because
I just don't pay attention to it. I just deal with it as it comes along. This idea that we lose sleep over problems that we create is, not my problem.
Yeah, right. Not my problem.
The world. That's the way I am. I'm like, okay, this is how the world works. All right, I'm going to work around it. All right, and not worry about it. And I love the people who will spend hours worrying about it when they can't change it. All right,
no. Well, we've talked about this on this podcast several times, that people will try and change things that they have no control over and get very upset because they have no control over it. When we talked about, there are only, I think, 2 things that you have control over: yourself and your voice. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you have control over. I can't force you to do anything any more than you can force me to do anything. Well, maybe in duress or if you've got a gun in my head, but other than that.
There's 2 things I got control of that you can't have anything to do with. All right. Number 1 is what I say and do. Number 2 is when I go to the bathroom. All right. And that being said, you can't force me to give a shit.
Just like a cow. Yes, folks, we went there. We did. We went there.
I'm out. Yeah.
We did go there.
Be sure to take your waiters and waitresses on your way out.
Just not fun if you're not talking about.
Yeah.
Just saying. Just saying.
So this past weekend, all right, we went up to check out. There's two stores here that are kind of like a hardware store. This more built for farmers and ranchers.
What's the
And one of
name
them
of
is
it?
called Tractor Supply.
Oh, we have that too.
Yeah, which you have them all over the country. It's not something like the average world, the average people in your and I world doesn't talk about that because we go to Walmart and Target and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like a hardware store, for ranchers and farmers, kind of the old fashioned go to the local trading post, right?
Yep.
And the other one was called Atwood Farm and Home and Range or Home and Ranch or something like that. And we went and checked them both out, and found some interesting stuff they had there. That first of all, I mean, I think we got a couple pieces, some good jackets and stuff like that would be better for us. But surprised at how much stuff they had to actually build, here around the house to make it more of a farmy type thing. But
Yeah,
one thing we found that we
nice
started
stuff.
on our purchasing thing, you'll get to this someday, I promise you will.
Oh, well, trust me, I am getting to that because my son's expecting in January.
Uh-huh.
Well, not my son, but his wife is expecting.
Well, I was hoping you were going to say his wife, but yeah.
So I will be a grandma very soon, and I will be buying a bunch of those stuff. And I saw it's funny because you put that post on there. Most people were asking, are you going to be a grandpa? And I was thinking to myself, if I were Tim, I'd probably be writing back, no, I'm going to be having the baby.
Yeah.
And I'll take you through the journey and watch what they say.
What was that TV show many, many years ago? Alien men having babies. Do you remember that?
Which
there was
one?
a TV show where an alien men had babies, carry the baby.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember.
I can't remember what the TV show was.
I don't know, but can you imagine? It's like the typical, what is it, Foxworthy, where he says, "There's your son."
Yeah.
Are you going to be a granddad? There's your son. Kind of obvious.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But so why are you so, I mean, we were talking about this before we started and being organized and how anal you are being organized. And I'm the same way when it comes to if things aren't organized or put in their spot, it drives me crazy. Mm-hmm. Where do you think yours came from?
I think it's because over time I realized the more organized I am, the more comfortable I am.
Yeah.
And the less worry I do, right? When I'm set up to be comfortable. And that's one thing, like Gwen always asks me, she says, well, how are you so calm? It's because I organize it and because I'm so organized, I don't worry about things.
Yeah. Because you know where everything is.
And I don't necessarily know where everything is, but I have things segmented in a way that I can find it. You know what I mean? It's like my electronic filing system. Like everything for my podcasts is in one of my Dropbox, but I go into a podcast folder and it breaks down all 4 of my podcasts. But in that base, before you go into the base for each podcast, the things I need to readily access on a regular basis, like the cover art for this show, the thumbnail for this show, as well as my other show, are right there inside that folder. And all I got to do is click inside that folder in my Dropbox and grab it like that real quick to make the show up. But I mean, I have things down segmented because of the fact that I have a real estate businesses and I have, a coaching business. So it's segmented down. And then I have personal stuff. And inside personal stuff, I've got like the house. For instance, I have a folder that says 313 projects. It's
wait, is that
projects.
Paper? Huh? It's not online, it's paper.
Tim starts with, I know this is old fashioned, but I start with, I handwrite it.
Paper.
This is my number 1 app.
Paper. You know what though? I came up with an idea. I know a lot of times you make notes and so forth, and then you put it on a piece of paper, you make a note. Then when you're done with it, you scrunch it up and you throw it in the trash.
No, I run it through a shredder.
Well, either way.
Yeah.
What if you did a whiteboard where you had a whiteboard and all you're doing is writing your notes on that whiteboard. As soon as it's done, you erase it. Now you're done, and you don't have to throw anything away or trash anything or shred anything, and it's
But
all on
I
a
don't
whiteboard.
want to carry the whiteboard with me everywhere. I carry these with me. There's one of my
Oh, well.
briefcase. Yeah, because a lot of my ideas don't come.
I was
home
talking
from
about
the
if
office.
you're just at your desk taking notes.
No,
I wasn't
yeah.
talking about when you're going places and so
Yeah.
forth.
No, a lot of my ideas don't come here. That's why.
So let me ask you this. I know you like writing on paper. What about those they call them scribe and they call them other things where they're
Yeah,
electronic.
I had a client or I had someone at one of my events who had one and he tried to sell me on it. And I'm like, good for you.
Because then you can take that and put that up in the cloud if you wanted to and always refer to it, or you can get rid of it. But then same thing, you've got paper. And
But
here you are.
I do it this way because this is where because it takes computers are a distraction, and I'm in the computer world. Computers are a distraction, so I take everything offline when I'm doing think work, and I don't have the computer on because of the fact that it can distract me from what I'm doing. So that's why the creative mode is always done with this. But to move it from here to the computer, all I got to do is turn on Word and hit dictation and read it. And it puts it all in there.
Yeah.
And when I'm saying it,
though, with the scribe, they don't have it where they've got them now where there's no email on it. You just send it and that's it. You're not getting your distractions. So you don't have the email. I think that's the biggest distraction is the emails, because when you're online and you're doing something, you get that bing.
well, no, that's not. No, it's again, I don't carry any more electronic devices than I have. I carry my phone with me, and that's it. I don't half the time. I don't even take my laptop with me anymore. I've stopped carrying an iPad. I totally did away with that because of the fact I wanted to carry less electronics with me from now on. And the paper for me, I can carry that piece of paper anywhere. And when I write it down, I don't always write it down the way it's meant. You know what I mean? So like I cross word, you know what I mean? We cross words and stuff like that, or we don't spell right. But when you say it, when you're reading it to put it into Word,
transcription,
you're reading it, transcribing it by saying it. All right. Even though it's, two words are crossed, you say it the way it's supposed to be and it comes out right.
Yeah.
That's why I do that system. And it helps me get spell check in better.
Yeah.
Because I'll misspell it on my paper a million ways, right? But it'll give me a sign on Word or Pages that it's an error that I need to correct.
Plus, there's also Grammarly, which helps you with your grammar.
Yeah.
And the thing that Grammarly's actually added too is now they've added something where they can look at something and decide whether it's been copyrighted or not.
Yeah.
Whether you've put something too much to verbatim and then they can say, now this is copyright infringement, so you'll have an issue. So rewrite it.
Yes.
So
I mean, and and again, I'm not saying my way is the gospel, but it works for me. And truthfully, this is the number one thing I'm about in business is you got to find a way that works for you. I mean, you and I were talking about my one client, Terry, who's a Disney Imagineer. Terry went out and
creative.
She's very creative, but she went out and figured out Patreon. I don't know a thing about Patreon, but she did because of the fact she's seen the opportunity and how it would fit her world.
Yeah.
So she learned it, even though, and I kept saying, well, fine, you need to learn it and do whatever they need to do in there to build it. And she's so good at it that Patreon made her, an ambassador.
Yeah, she's done outstanding.
Yeah. Whereas had I gone in and go, well, no, Terry, you don't need to do it that way. I do it with Kartra. You need to use Kartra. I would have stifled her creativity and probably would have stalled her business from growing. But if I get people to find their own tools that work for them, like I find what works for me, they will go 10 times further. And that's why a lot of my clients is why they go so far is because I get them to tap into themselves, not tap into the way Tim does things.
Well, and that's what I always say on my tips when I talk about platforms.
Mhm.
Even though I'll recommend a platform, I always tell them it has to be something that they're comfortable with
Yeah.
and that makes sense to them, because what might make sense to me may be foreign to them and vice versa. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of systems out there, but it just depends in what's going to be comfortable for you that you're actually going to do, like you said, and move your business forward instead of stalling you because now you're having to learn this stupid thing that's taking forever and it's
Yeah.
not helping you.
Well, I've always been like, for me, I always, when I go to a function for years of teaching and working with online marketing, and I go into things, everybody always asks me, well, what app do you use for that? I start with this app, right? And I always come back to that. And I go, some of you all are looking for the apps to do the job instead of building the process and finding the apps to do the process that works for you.
Yeah.
I am reversed on that, and I will always be reversed on that. Automation is not about finding the apps to work to do it all. No, it's about building a system and then building the tools to work your system, right? The assembly line, they did not create the robots to make the assembly line to make cars first. No, they built the assembly line and had people on it.
Yeah.
And over time, they built products and services, and they got tools that would make the assembly line work with less people.
Yep.
Right. And that's what we don't understand is we want to come in and build the robot first instead of building the assembly line first. Build the assembly line first. Yes, you're going to have manual labor along the assembly line in the beginning, but in the end, you will find piece by piece tools that do the automation of little things will be taken off your plate. And eventually you will watch the automation of your business work, and you will build it 10 times faster than if you go in to go, well, what app do I need for that?
Well, and I
think
people
app
think
first,
too,
assembly line second.
I think people think too that when we're putting robots into systems and on assembly lines that people lose jobs. And I don't think that's really true because those robots still have to be maintained and the systems still have to be maintained and they have to do tweaks and changes. And so there's still jobs to be had. It's just a different job. It's not the same job as maybe that person was doing. So now they have to have a different mindset, they have to have a different toolkit. So they just have to learn something new. But that doesn't necessarily mean that jobs are lost. At least I'm a firm believer that it's just the jobs change. That's all.
That's it. Jobs change, and that the problem is we the people who think that are the people who want to build the robots first and the assembly line to go around the robots.
Yeah.
As opposed to reversing it.
Yeah.
Build the assembly line first and then build the robots to automate certain processes. All right. You know, and that's where I think we're missing it because we have a world of people in our online marketing world. These are people who are trying to build businesses who have never had the mentality of how the assembly line worked. Right. I had the mentality of how assembly line. And I remember one of the classes I took many, many years ago was how I learned sales copy. All right. I think it was a Frank Kern class that he did he called it assembly line sales copy. And he basically broke it down to an assembly line. You do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this. And he talked about every process along the way. The framework, the assembly line is already here in place. You buy the assembly line. Great. Now it's working. Now you find the tools to automate it for you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where, I help my clients first build the assembly line. And the people who come in and want to build the tools first or build the robots first never make it in my system. They always fail. They always drop out. They always are right where they were at when they came to my system. Right. And they leave without it. Terry's a great example of she built the assembly line, then found the tools to work for it. Perfect example of that.
Yeah. If we can, and I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we end up making things harder than they need to be.
I think that's like in every entrepreneur's bloodstream.
It's like, let me do this, and then let me do that, and then let me do this, and
no, it's like God took one piece out of their brain that said, let's do this right, and he put another chip in there that basically said, okay, no matter what they say to do, let's do it the opposite way and make it wrong.
And you do. I mean, and that's when you're dealing with clients too, and I'm sure you deal with the same thing, you're trying to explain to them a process, and you're trying to explain to them that there's a reason for that process and how they're trying to set up for their marketing or the best way for their business to flourish, and they butt the system. But I don't like it that way. I like it this way.
Well,
Has it
I'm
been
not,
working for you?
I'm that example of just what you were saying. You're trying to explain the tablets, the other thing. I'm bucking that system. Why? Because I have a system that works and I've not found a tool or app or thing that replaces my system and does it better. In other words, this is how my brain works. Why go buy the app, go buy the pen, go buy the whiteboard?
I'm just saying that when I talk to clients when it comes to websites, the first thing they talk about is they want to talk about their accolades. They want to talk about the colors, and then they want to talk. And as we've talked about, and I keep asking them, who are you selling to? Are you selling to you, or are you selling to your audience?
Yeah.
Well, I'm selling to your audience doesn't care about your accolades and the colors, and what they care about is what are you saying to them that they're pulled in, and they're going to say, oh my God, this person can really help me. I need them. But anytime we go through these, and sometimes no matter what I say, they'll say, but I really like why there's no rhyme or reason as to why they just like it.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times you'll find somebody that will go off and have somebody do their website. Then they'll come back and they'll say, it's just not working. Why is that? Well, they did this, and they did the exact opposite.
And the first thing I'd like to tell people, what is the purpose of your website? Why are you creating it? Right? Why are you creating content? What's the purpose of this piece of content you are creating?
A lot of people just say it's an online brochure. No.
See, for instance, all right, Katrina and I create this podcast every week. Let me tell you the purpose of it. So we can get online and talk. It's the one place we know we can chat every week.
Actually, there's a real reason. It's because Katrina has the podcast crack, and that is all because of Tim. He got her hooked on it, and if she doesn't have her podcast fix every week, she starts to get the shakes and gets really agitated. So that's the real reason.
Tim's a podcast drug dealer.
Once a week. Because Katrina never wanted to be on camera before, ever. And now she can't get enough of it because of Tim.
Wait a minute. 2012. Let's go back. 2012. I'm sitting at Craig Duswalt's. The first time I ever went to Craig Duswalt's, and I met John Martin. Have you ever met John Martin?
Sounds familiar.
So John was in Craig's mastermind, and he used to host a internet radio station in East Texas. He was part owner into it, and he ran it with his family, and then he got Craig to do a show, and then eventually got Craig to build his own network as part of it, and he ran it. So he would do at Craig's event, he would actually talk to people about creating a radio show, because Craig always said, do a radio show. And then eventually he left the industry, and then Dave Pratt came in, and Dave Pratt did it for a while.
Yeah,
and then after Dave Pratt, Craig went into doing, just do your own show. All right. John Martin and I sat down 2012 outside of, Craig's Rockstar Marketing Boot Camp, right? Back when it was 5 days. We're sitting out at the Sheraton LAX in one of the chairs having a conversation. And he says, well, you'd be good on radio. And I'm like, I don't want to do a radio show. Not interested. I like writing. I'm a blogger. I want to stick with me, doing my processes my way. Well, Tim, you'd be really good on radio if you'd try it. I'll get people to interview you. Let's start there. All right. From him saying that would have been March of 2012, October of 2012, I had a radio show, internet radio show / podcast on Blog Talk Radio. I ran it for 2 years on Blog Talk Radio, and then moved it over to Dave Pratt's network and had a show there. And then, all right, someone actually said, Tim, you should check out this live streaming app called Blab.
And then it was history.
All right. And as soon as I got on camera, I watched my numbers like we're talking ones and twos go to hundreds. I did not want to be on camera either. Never wanted to be on camera. And I was shocked at how many people, when I first went on camera, would watch my videos. I'm still shocked at how many people watch this video after you and I are off the air. I will get a message later on. So-and-so watched it. All right. Watching the replay.
Yeah. I do my weekly tidbits too, where I do, and for the longest time, I went to class after coach after coach, and they all said, gotta be on video, gotta be on video, gotta be on video. And I kept saying, no, not doing it.
So
now I can't get enough of it. And
with video now, and I did this with one of my clients, but I've found a lot of my old files from my Rocker Life Coach, my first couple series of stuff I did. In some cases, I had audio, and I had the outlines from doing the audio, but I don't have the audio version anymore, just the outline. So what I'm doing is, now that we have the tools, is I'm creating a PowerPoint, and I'm going to go back over and record it. So it's video, but it's PowerPoint. It's not me on it. So it's going to feel like I've got the audio version from the old days. And I'm putting them all into a membership that people can get old material, right? Because of the fact that I wasn't on video back then. I was on audio products. So I want to create an audio product that has a PowerPoint, and I'm going to create them. Not that I'm going to go back into reselling it, but I'm going to put it out there as a package. This is my old stuff. Hey, if you're interested, it's $20. Buy it. You know what I mean? And I guarantee I'll make money with it.
Yeah.
Again, and then I'll leave it as a legacy product, right? I found something, and I don't think you're of a Christian faith, but I found something that I had done that was Bible based. A Bible based. Does the Bible teach you can be successful? And I have this whole outline.
Wait, say that again. Does the Bible
teach you can be successful?
Does it teach you, or it does teach
you? Let me actually, hold on. I'll get it and I'll show you the outline, because I have the outline here somewhere real close. And I'm pretty sure I can get to it.
I think a lot of times when people read the Bible, some people take it literally, and I think that's because the words that are in the Bible mean something different when they wrote it than what it means today.
I know, but I'm still trying to find this while I'm talking. It's by using Bible verses, I was able to show the idea. I will never find this now to save my life.
Stay tuned for the next show when Tim finds.
When Tim actually finds what he's looking
when
for.
He finds this about how you can be successful based on. Now, are you talking about that the Bible says how you can be successful?
Yeah. Well, no. The Bible does the Bible teach you can be successful? Is what I think it is. I'm just trying to find out what.
So you're asking the question: does the Bible show you how to be successful?
No, I think it's Bible. I think it's something like, is success in the Bible or something like that.
Okay. Is success in the Bible based on the verses that you find?
Yeah. Why is it that I can't? And I'm going through my recent documents.
That's a whole talk if you think about it, because how many different versions of the Bible are out there?
I know there are tons of them.
There's so many different versions. And the other question I have too is and we've talked about this. There's the story of Jesus up to when he's a baby, and then when he's an adult. What happened in between? Where's all that history in between when he's growing up? There's no Bible talks about that.
Yeah. Come on, Tim. I know you've got this here somewhere. I really need to find it. It pisses me off now that I can't readily, because I
mean it, and that's something that would be interesting, is to find out how many actual versions there are of the Bible. There's like Kings. The King.
Here's what I will tell you about that I've learned about the Bible. All right, is two founding things about the Bible. Number one, all right, it does not prove that there is a God.
It does not prove.
It does not prove that there is a God, but it also does not prove that there is not a God. To believe the Bible, you have to have faith.
Of course.
If you don't have faith and believe in God. It does not make sense to you. That is a fact.
That's very true.
I've seen that over and over again. If you don't believe that,
and if you think about it, if you think about it, it takes a huge amount of faith to believe in something that you cannot see,
That's
that
right.
you cannot physically touch or see. Even though I know a lot of people say that all of the things that we touch and it has God in it or is part of that. But if you think about the faith in itself, faith is based on something you can't touch or see. It's just
All right.
something here.
Yeah. So the outline is, does the Bible give us a plan for success?
Ah, got it.
All right. And I'm not going to bring it up and show it because, but I'm going to take and record the audio of it because it takes Bible verses. And this is the greatest thing about doing a Bible study. If you have faith, is you can take the Bible again on that concept that I explained is the Bible does not show you that there is a God, and it doesn't show you that there is not a God. It takes faith to make you see it, right?
Yeah.
Based on that very fact is that you can take the Bible and you can actually take things and do this with it and go, well, the Bible says this based on this and this and this and this and this. That's right. And you can point things, right? But also you can also misuse the Bible. And I remember many, many years ago, the guy saying, well, you know what I mean? My idea of the Bible is I open it up and I point down and I point to a verse and then I read it. And that's what God's saying to me. And then I open up and the guy says, let me show you. And he opens the Bible, he puts it onto it and says, in the verse he pointed it was so-and-so went out and hung himself. So then he does the next thing. I'll do one more. Hold on. And he points to the second one and says, go out and do likewise. So, like, there's a way that you can misuse the Bible, but there's a way that the Bible can become a tool. Again, like we were talking about, all right, when you have the faith alignment with God, the Bible is a tool to help you stay in line with God. But when you don't have faith in God, the Bible can become a tool to argue with your neighbors.
It's not in the Bible, so it's not so.
Yeah. But the one thing I will tell you, this is the one fact I will tell you about the Bible. Nowhere, and I do mean nowhere in the Bible does it tell me, Tim, you need to read this to tell Katrina what to do.
No.
Nowhere. No. There is nowhere in the Bible that it tells me as a regular human being that I am supposed to use that Bible to tell you what to do. I could share with you what the Bible said to me. And if you take something from that, whether it's the same thing I took from it or something different, it is what you take. Because the key element in the Christian faith is the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit talks to you different than they talk to me.
And nowhere does it also say use that Bible to argue when it comes to politics. Nowhere does it say that either.
I cannot find in the Bible where it said I was supposed to vote for Donald Trump. But there are a lot of but there are a lot of things in my life that made me align with to want to vote for Donald Trump. Now, that being said, so many people go, well, that's all wrong. Blah, blah, blah. The number one thing I find in the Bible about any political figure is none of us is perfect. That's the number one thing. No matter who I'm electing to be king or president, they ain't perfect.
No, and we all make mistakes.
And there are going to be things that they do that are good, and there are going to be things that they can do that are bad. That goes for Donald Trump. That goes for Joe Biden. That goes for Barack Obama, George W. And we can go on and on all the way back to Abraham Lincoln if you want. Right?
Oh, you know what though? Considering that it's coming close to Thanksgiving, I found out a piece of interesting history. Did you know how the parting of the White House turkey started?
No.
It actually started with Bush Sr. when they bring out the turkey for the White House, and then they go through their whole process. And the turkey was so nervous, and he was so nervous, he decided to pardon that turkey so it wouldn't be eaten for turkey dinner. Yeah. After that, every president kind of followed that motto, that now they pardoned the turkey for the White House turkey, so he's not going to be turkey dinner. And it all started because of George Bush Sr.
So in my case, he can pardon all he wants. That turkey ends up at my house. He's going to be dinner.
I just thought it was interesting because I was looking to find out when this started because I was looking for a client to do a post and stuff. And I thought, that's interesting. I thought it went way, way back, but
No.
not the case. Not the case.
No.
Bit of history. And I did get all of my information on Wikipedia because that's where I trust most of my info.
Because what else says fact than something that anybody can change? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But still.
Hold on. I have to go get this.
So while he's gone, let's talk about Tim and what you think about what he talks about. I mean, and it would be interesting to find out in regards to what you've gone through have you gone through his simple and easy marketing, and has it helped your business? And I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm going to do a plug. I'm KG Website Designs. And what we help you do is we help you set up websites that work. And the reason why they work is because we are talking content that talks to your client. And we also help you make money with that because we set up things so that you can grow your list, grow your business, and make more money. Sorry, I was doing a plug while you were gone. And why did you have to go get that?
So because it was wine. It was wine. The the FedEx drivers delivering wine, and you have to have someone with an ID to sign for it.
To sign for it.
Yeah, and they came by yesterday, and I wasn't here. I was out with out having lunch with my my aunt.
Oh.
Yeah. So
how nice. Is your whole family in Texas?
Nope.
Nope. Because you're from Pennsylvania, right?
My mom's aunt. It's my grandfather's sister. Was in town because her youngest daughter, my second cousin Paula, moved here to Texas because their son was here and they had a baby, and his son had a baby. Their one son that lived, is here in Texas, and they just had a baby. So they like a month and a half ago they came down to visit the grandbaby and said, "That's it, we're moving to Texas."
They want to be close to the baby. I mean, I know
they're about an hour from us. On the east side.
I know a lot of people ask me when I found out my son and his wife is expecting. They said, "Are you going to move?" I said, "Hell no. I'm not moving to Illinois. No.
What kind of people would move to Illinois purposely?
They love it. Well, here's the deal. In Illinois, there are certain places. I mean, they have some really nice houses there that are the old houses, and the cost of how. I mean, I found a house out there. Believe it or not, very nice house, $54,000. $54,000.
Hey, there's tons of houses like that in Detroit. You can get for $10,000. I'm still not moving to Detroit. This is
not a house that needs a lot of work. It's a house that you can move in today. $54,000. But part of that is there's no mountains, and all you see is fields of corn and wheat, and there's like 2-lane highways for getting from one town to the next town. So it's quite different, but it's a different lifestyle. It's out in the middle of farmland. It is farmland. That's what you have mostly, are farmers out there. So it was definitely interesting, but no, I would not move to Illinois to be closer to. I'll go visit. And they can come visit, but no, I know there are some parents that say, I want to be close to the grandkids and my kids, so I'm going to move. But what I've come to learn over the years is half the time those kids end up moving. So you'll move to Illinois, and then they decide now they're going to move to Texas. And then so now you're going to go to Texas, and it's so I'm finding my spot.
Got to move to Texas, and everybody follow me.
I'm close, but I'm not there. I'm just close. Within kissing distance. That's it.
Yeah. Anyway.
But I mean, how far are you from El Paso? You're what, 4 hours, 5 hours?
El Paso?
Yeah.
I'm 12 hours.
Oh, it's driving. 12 hours.
12 hours.
Well,
driving.
I know Texas is a big state.
Texas is a big ass state. By the way, we're almost at an hour. Did you know that?
Oh, wow. Hard to believe.
Wow.
See what happens when the conversation just gets flowing?
It's going. Yeah.
And look at all the stuff we talked about. We even gave you a resource, Grammarly. Just
Grammarly,
saying.
great resource.
Grammarly, great resource. We gave
Yeah.
you resources. We gave you bits and pieces here along the way, business, personal. You never know what might come up.
You never know. So you should be here every week.
You
All
gotta
right,
check
we're
it
gonna
out.
close. We're gonna close the show out, guys. We'll be back next week with another. I think that we're coming back next week, right? Or are we
Yes.
off next week?
Yes, we will be next week. The only week that will be off is the week that I'm moving, which is November 17th.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure about that when I was messaging you this
Yeah.
morning. I was trying to remember when. I mean, again, I'm so disorganized. It's the 17th, right?
Yep. That week.
And then, well,
we're
17th,
moving.
and then the 24th is Thanksgiving. So we
Yeah,
won't
so
be on that.
we won't be. So we'll just start back up in, I guess, the beginning of December at that point.
Yeah. I'm
And then we'll be
actually
talking
pulling
all
off
Christmas.
my calendar now.
Yeah.
All right. And I think we have joint on these calendars, but I'm doing it so that we have I have it marked in my calendar, and we'll go so we'll have one next week. For the next 4 weeks, next 3 weeks, we will have a show, and then we'll take a 2-week break.
Yep.
So,
And then we'll be back.
and then we'll be back, and you'll be in your new house.
Back.
And you'll be in your new house.
Yeah. I'll be so happy. I'll be giddy.
I know.
I'm just saying.
How much? Wait a minute. The both of us have, in the past year, have switched houses.
I know. It's been crazy. This past year's been crazy.
Yeah.
It's been
Wait a minute.
very.
When we started this, did we either one of us have the inklings we were going to move?
Nope. Not
No
even
clue.
close. Not even close.
Not a
If
clue.
you
that we
had
were
asked
gonna move.
If you had asked me a couple of years ago and told me you're going to move to New Mexico, I would say, yeah, right.
Yeah, if you had told me I was going to move out of my condo, I would have told you no.
Yep.
Because I had a
You
great
never
life.
know.
Anyway,
You never know. Life changes, people. Life changes.
will change. All right, and you got to work with the changes. So
Go
anyway.
with the flow.
All right. Well, guys, we'll see you guys next week. All right. Be sure to subscribe to both our YouTube channels as well as our Facebook page so that you can find out when we're going live.
Yay.
Yay.
Follow.
Yeah. All right. We're out.
Ta ta.